Hi, we're back again with more Math with Marty. It's September, and it feels like a new season for us. I guess it is a new season because it's the fall season. This is our second full year on the air, and we're glad to be back Tuesday nights at 10:30. It looks like we're going to be here for a little while to come. I hope you'll enjoy tonight's show. We have a couple of guests on with us. Well, one guest who's a guest and one who's returning from a long absence, which we sorely missed her from the show. My sister Sharon's going to be back doing some more singing with us. And we have another guest who's a math teacher at St. John's Ravenscourt named John Barsby, and we'll be meeting him shortly. He's has quite an illustrious record of accomplishments behind him, and he's going to be bringing us news of the recent International Mathematics Olympiad just held in Sweden, where we had competition with high school students from all over the world competing, and he'll be telling us more about that. But before we get to that, I brought something I thought I'd like to share with my viewers. I was on holidays down east. I have all kinds of relatives there. I have all kinds of aunts who were school teachers before they sort of retired. And one of my aunts has been collecting these interesting books, the Ontario Readers. This is the first book. There's second year, third year. This is the grade 1 book from 1930. I don't know when it's from. It cost 6 cents. The price is right on the cover, authorized by the Minister of Education. And for any of you who, like me, have children attending the public schools, and you wonder what kind of education we're getting. And on the whole, I'm really satisfied with the education my kids are getting. They know how to read. I can't imagine how they managed to pick that up, but Dinah's in grade 2, David's in grade 4, and they can both sort of read. But it's kind of depressing reading them bedtime stories, because you get these glossy books. Well, you get them for Christmas presents. I don't know where they come from. I don't know if I've ever bought a book for my kids, but the house is full of kids' books, and they're sort of glossy picture books with kind of nonsense stories and things, or different kind of stories. Stories with morals in them, stories with big pictures. These old stories have quite a different feel from the new stories that the kids are getting nowadays. And what a lot of people say about these old kind of stories is good riddance to them, because they're full of what we consider nowadays to be outrageous stereotypes and sexism and all kinds of bad things like that. But just how bad was it in the old days? There's something about these books that makes you stop and think that what we've done today is rejected something from our past, and I don't know if we haven't thrown out a lot of good along with the bad. I can't really explain what I'm trying to say, except I'm going to read you a page from the first reader, and on future shows I may read you more excerpts from this book. And I'd like you to compare it with what your kids are getting today, and see if something isn't missing from what we're doing today in the schools. Page 1, first reader, Morning Hymn. Father, we thank thee for the light and for the blessings of the night, for rest and food and loving care and all that makes the world so fair. Help us to do the things we should, to be to others kind and good, in all we do, in work or play, to grow more loving every day. There you have it. And with that little bit of mawkish sentimentality out of the way, if people would say, I kind of like that thing. But let's get on to meet our guests, and I'm sure you'd like to say hi to Sharon, who's back from France. Was it, Sharon?
That's right. Six months away.
And what were you doing there?
I was studying architecture. I went to school in Paris for 3 months.
I understand you were going to get credit for those courses when you came back here. Did that work out for you?
Not exactly. That's more my fault than my school's fault.
Well, that's all right, but you enjoyed the courses.
Yeah, it was great, and I learned to speak a lot of French.
All these weird French architects with their big theories, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What was that one you were telling me about, the theory of the very big building?
Yeah, that's right. The très grand bâtiment and new building typology. They're all excited about it in France.
Well, I'm sure you're absolutely fascinated by it. But, we'll have to tell us about that sometime. But really, our guest of honor today, because I don't want to dwell on this too long, is we got John Barsby in, who's my old math teacher from days when I was in high school at Gordon Bell High School, and John is now teaching at St. John's Ravenscourt. And I understand you had a student in Sweden participating in the Worldwide Mathematics Olympiad. Is that right, John?
That's right. Your regular viewers will remember him because he appeared on your show back towards the end of June or beginning of July, Kaping Yi.
I'm sure the viewers remember Kaping. Yeah. How did he make out?
Oh, I think that he did quite well. He was one of the youngest competitors there. He's 15. He had finished grade 10 last year. Countries, and Canada is no exception to this, do like to get on their teams some fairly young competitors who they can enter for several years in a row. Kaping received what's called an honorable mention, which was pretty good for the first time around.
How did Canada stack up, John?
Well, Canada had at least for looking at the record over the years, at least an average and probably a better than average year. We placed 16th internationally, and it was down a little bit from the 11th of the year before, but I think on, say, a 5-year, 10-year average, this is the 10th year Canada has entered, that 16th is probably among the better years.
Okay, so who are the big shooters in this affair?
Well, it's dominated generally by the same few countries. Clearly, when every country has a team of exactly 6 students, that you'll find the smaller countries, and Canada in population is a smaller country, are less competitive than the giants. The USSR won this year, which is something that they have done many times before.
I wonder if that brought any news of cheer to the embattled Mikhail Gorbachev.
Well, I wonder. It's a much bigger thing in the USSR and indeed in quite a few of the eastern countries than it is in Canada, unless people were glued to CBC News World, I think, covered the results. But you'd be hard pressed to find in the Canadian press or media what happened. Whereas in the USSR, I have no doubt that Mikhail Gorbachev did know of the results.
Well, right on. So he should. So Russia cleaned up.
Russia cleaned up quite dramatically, a 10-point lead over China, which came in second place.
I understand Russia, they had some guys with perfect scores?
Yes, there usually are some perfect scores in this. It's scored out of 42. There are 6 questions, 7 points each, and 9 hours.
9 hours for 6 questions.
9 hours for 6 questions. You get 3 questions the first day, 4.5 hours. 3 questions the second day, another 4.5 hours. And I believe that either 3 or 4 of Russia's competitors did have perfect papers.
That's incredible. And we'll take a look in a minute at some of those questions and see just how hard they are. But maybe you'd like to run down the list of the other countries that figured prominently in the international score sheet.
Yes, the third country, and this is very interesting because this is a small country, is Romania with 225 points. And
I think we've got some of these listed on the big board. I don't know if Rob will be able to pick them up for us. Romania's third. Now this is unbelievable.
Well, Romania, in the list of the top 10, you will notice that there are three countries from Eastern Europe that one would not expect to be three small countries, which for reasons of size you would not expect to be competitive. They're Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria. Now, all of those countries have a tremendous record of producing great mathematics students, not just in the IMO, but in their universities. Hungary, for instance, has turned out some of the best-known mathematicians of this century.
And the last century. Hungary does have a history or a tradition in math. Oh, well, I wonder if it goes back to the last century or if it's strictly a 20th century thing. I think it goes back.
Oh, I think it does go back. It's hard to think of names very quickly, although Polya, of course, was, while he was 20th century, he was certainly born in the 1880s.
Well, there's Franz Liszt, but he was a piano player, but this same basic idea. Yeah, so Eastern Europe is powerful in these things.
Eastern Europe is really powerful. I was very surprised to see Iran on that list of the top 10.
Iran, the land of the Ayatollah
Khomeini.
Yes, so what are they doing in between prayers over there?
They were
hitting the books.
And that was very interesting because I had never seen them in the list of the top 10 before.
Well, good for them.
Of course, it should be stressed always in interpreting these results that the team size is 6, and it's important not to use this as a measure of the mathematical level of education in the country, because some very small
they could have some elite schools that are
that's right, exactly,
responsible for the performance.
Right. India.
Still, it's an accomplishment. India. Okay.
India is in the top 10. And there again, size is probably a
I guess we know that
factor.
they take math education seriously in India. It still has the British system, and
that's right, very seriously.
The guys we met in university from India would tend to laugh at our level of math standards that we came in with in high school.
Well, we can't forget that India produced Ramanujan very early in this century. They're not a country without a strong mathematical tradition.
And the last one, unbelievable, you'll never guess, but I see there's one more name you haven't mentioned. It's a big surprise.
The USA.
Oh, no, they're in there. Yeah, that's okay. That wasn't the one I was thinking of.
I should just mention about the USA.
Okay, right.
They did come 5th this year, but that's by no means their best performance over the years. And I would have to check the records to be absolutely accurate, whether it's 2 or 3 times. But the USA has, on at least 2 occasions, come number 1 in the competition.
Okay.
They do a very intensive training session with their students at West Point every summer. Now, which one did I forget?
Oh, you didn't mention that one in number 9 over there.
Vietnam.
What are they doing on that list?
Well, again...
communist country?
The tradition of mathematics must be very strong, and certainly the preparation is probably quite intensive.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you'd never guess. Well, I wouldn't have guessed if I'd have thought about it where all these top schools were going to come from. But there you have it.
There are some other small Eastern countries that have done very well over the years. I don't see Singapore in the top 10 this year, but they have been strong competitors as well.
Now, how about my people from in the Middle East, the Israelis? Do we ever get in?
Well, you had mentioned the Israelis when we were talking a few days ago, and I'm not sure whether they competed or not. Unfortunately, in my results, once we get past the top 10, I have 3-letter abbreviations for each country. And there's one country whose abbreviation is ISA. Could that possibly be
ISA? Israel? Well, what's the competitor's name? Do they have the student's name?
They do have the students' names, and they're one of them is
Sharon?
I think so.
Okay.
Amador?
That's us, yeah.
Okay. Well, I would say that they would have been substantially behind Canada. I haven't added up their team score, but I would expect that they, out of the 55 countries, they would have been about the middle of the pack.
Okay.
That is an important statistic. I should have mentioned that there were 55 nations competing. It makes our place, Canada's place at 16th, a little more easy to interpret.
Yeah. Well, it's good showing.
Or our showing last year at 11th,
Yeah.
which I think for a country our size was quite outstanding.
And I guess Kaping will be able to look forward to a couple more years if he's fortunate. And
Yes, that's...
this year he went to
right.
Sweden, and next year, do you know where it's going to be next year?
I should know, but I haven't been able to find that out. Usually by this time it's announced.
Okay.
I was going to ask Kaping himself the other day, and it slipped my mind. But it's possible that he was told.
All right. Okay, well, that's real interesting. I wonder if we're going to have time to look at some of those questions. I'm sure it's time for us to go over to the piano with Sharon and do a song. We haven't had Sharon on for quite a while. And we've been looking forward to doing this song. I'm just going to get over here. And there we go. We've only got Rob in the studio today, and he's a little bit harried on the camera work, so we're just going to see if we crouch down, we can fit into the screen. That's right. Sit. No, okay, yeah, I can fit. Yeah, I can. We'll just, oh, there's my chord. Now, we're going to do a little medley tonight. It's a song, a couple of songs. Have You Ever Been Lonely? And There's Just One Place for Me, Near You. Now, in the country scheme of things, these were done by, respectively, Near You was done by George Jones and Tammy Wynette as a duet. And Have You Ever Been Lonely was done as a duet by Jim Reeves and Patsy Cline. Interestingly enough, it was done posthumously by them because they both died tragically in the early 60s, and after they died, the studio engineers took tapes that they had recorded separately and mixed them together as a duet. So these songs have interesting histories behind them as duets. Sharon and me are going to do it sort of the way that it might have sounded if you'd have got George and Tammy and Jim and Patsy all together, doing them at the same time. And can we do it in C? Yeah. Have you ever been lonely? Have you ever been blue? Have you ever loved someone just as I've loved you? Can't you see that I'm sorry for each mistake I've made? Can't you see that I'm paid, dear? Can't you see that I've changed? Be a little forgiving. Take me back in your heart. How can I go on living now that we're apart? If you knew what I've been through, you would know why I ask you, have you ever been lonely? Have you ever been blue?
There's just one place for me
Have you ever been blue? Have you ever loved someone just as I love you? Can't you see that I'm sorry for each mistake I've made? Can't you see that I've changed you? Can't you see that I've paid? Be a little forgiving. Take me back in your heart. How can I go on living now that we're apart? If you knew what I've been through, you would know why I asked you. Have you ever been lonely? Have you ever been blue? Interesting arrangement there. Now, how did that come about? A couple of years ago, Sharon mentioned to me that there was two songs that she thought were sort of the same. And what were they?
That was, There's Just One Place for Me Near You.
Yeah.
And then, Anytime You're Feeling Lonely.
Right, that Eddie Arnold song. And what I told her at that time was that the two songs that sounded really the same was not Anytime, but that other one, whatever the heck it is I just sang.
Have you ever been
Have
lonely?
you ever been lonely? Yeah. So we tried doing them together, and they sort of worked, and then we changed some of the chords, and then they worked pretty good. And the other thing about that is, you may have noticed that when Sharon sang the melody on her part, when she did the solo verse, she didn't get it quite perfect. But you see, that is, you know, part of the thing. I didn't want to tamper with this thing, because Sharon has this gift of spontaneously being able to come in with the harmonies. And so a lot of times what she's doing when she tries to sing a solo melody, she drifts onto a harmony note by accident. I could have corrected her before the show when we went over it, but I didn't want to, you know, tamper with my good luck anyhow. And so sounded good, Sharon.
It's unbelievable that they fit together like that.
Yes, it's incredible.
Even the mood of them fits
That's
together.
right. The words fit good, the music fits, everything fits. Anyhow, we're sort of running down, and we didn't have time to do any math at all today. But you see, the beauty of being on VPW is we're back again and again every week. Now, oh yeah, Sharon, you could, oh no, Sharon, you stay here for now. Yeah. Rob's frantically pointing at me, sort of indicating that I could be looking at this camera or that camera. Yeah, here we are. You see, we're a little bit understaffed tonight. But that's all right. That's all right. Rob is coping. And we thought we would like to see an example of just how hard these math problems were that they were asking these kids. Quickly give us one, John, if you can go to the board. Do you want me to read it to you while you sketch it? I'll give you that one that's easy to understand. You can pull that off.
Number 4 we were looking at?
It's called, oh no, number 4 is the one that Cap Ping attempted, but it'll take us more than 3 minutes to explain it. I'll read you number 5.
Right.
Let ABC be a triangle. There's your triangle, A, B, C. Yeah, and Rob's going to try and catch you on the camera. He's just, there you go, A, B, C. And let P be an interior point. Now we're asked to consider 3 angles, PAB, PBC, and PCA. And show that for any triangle, at least one of those angles is less than or equal to 30 degrees.
That's right.
Interesting problem.
I haven't attempted this one yet. I haven't attempted any of the questions on there yet. But this is one of the ones that we chose because it was easily understood and easily explained. It's obviously clear since there are 6, if you count the ones I didn't mark, there are 6 angles that all have to add up to 180 degrees. So certainly at least one of those 6 angles has to be less than 30.
But when we reduce the consideration to just those 3 angles, we still should have that one of them is less than 30.
That's right. There's a nice symmetry there, because if we had chosen these 3 angles instead, we know that either in this pair one of them is less than 30, or in this pair one of them is less than 30. But the task really boils down to showing that in both pairs one of them is less than 30.
Interesting question. John, we'll have to return to this another time because we're going to close out the show. We usually just wrap it up with a song. And we got Sharon here, and we're just going to oh, I forgot something real important. For those of you watching on Tuesday night, which is this coming Tuesday, which is the 10th of September, and there's a real good movie on late night. Look it up in your TV guide. It's How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Really good movie. It's a musical. It's on this Tuesday, the 12th of September, or something like that. Look it up in your TV guide. And what we're going to do, Sharon? By the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down. Remember Boney and yeah, we wept. 1975, when we remember Zion. By the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. When the wicked carried us away, captivity requiring from us a song. And how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? When the wicked carried us away, captivity requiring from us a song. And how can we sing